All right, we live.
Yeah, we're live, sir.
We're alive. Oh, the
Yeah,
podcast again.
the podcast. That's what we're calling it. It's I had shown the first episode to I gave it to my little cousin or whatever, and she apparently had played it in the car for everybody there, and Uncle Kerry came to me and says, "You guys just cuss all the time," and that's where I just was typing you something. I just typed in podcast. I'm like, you know what? That's what we are. We're the podcast, and if somebody else has it, I'm sorry. Just sue us or whatever.
It's like I don't even realize how much I cuss until I get around somebody I'm not supposed to cuss around and be like, "Oh," and I don't even realize to be like, "Did I just say motherfucker in front of this 2-year-old?" My bad. You just don't realize it. You just get so used to it. But
Yeah.
if anybody's listening and anybody cares, it can be found on Spotify and Anchor.fm/the podcast. As far as I know, it's only on Spotify at the moment, but they're distributing things now. So I guess I'll see what they do.
Hey man, it looks almost professional right here.
It's almost there. It's got more episodes than our last attempt did back in the day. So
We'll see if we can keep the ball rolling with this one. This is kind of like just a little current event thing. There were some things I was seeing as far as news was concerned, and I was only get your opinion on them. So we'll go right into this. I think dropped yesterday that the PlayStation's not going to be at E3 2020 again after they quit last year, and now that ain't looking too good for E3, man. What do you think about that?
I think this day in social media and YouTube and Nintendo Direct that you're going to probably see a lot of companies of why should we go there, spend all that money? I mean, I'm sure it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for somebody like Sony to set up a booth, come in there and have a big, massive show. I just can't imagine companies like them where they're like, we can just do this in-house and just throw something up on YouTube. It's like trailers these days. You can get a trailer on YouTube and get just as many eyes on it as you could, putting it in a theater. So I wasn't really surprised by this. I figure, I guess because I thought they might show something for the PlayStation 5. Is it still going to look like a pizza warmer? But maybe.
The way the PS4 happened is that they had done their reveal in February or March. I can't remember which was of 2013. And so it's due, and there's now rumors of some sort of show next February. So real soon, actually. So we're probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, at first you're thinking, well, last year it's thinking quick because they had blown their load. They always show stuff too early. You get real hyped up for shit that ain't even out yet. In 2015, they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake. Well, the games ain't out, and they just delayed the shit again. So it's when they did the 2018, when you got the freaking dudes blowing on the flute and playing the banjos, and they only did 4 games. I'm like, this isn't really them. They tried to experiment. It wasn't very good. But and then they didn't even show up in 2019 because I figured they had announced everything that they were going to announce that wasn't going to be PlayStation 5. But I thought that they would be here 2020, big on something, and we would have something new besides, Last of Us 2, I think is in May or June. And then the Ghost of Tsushima, it's probably a launch for PS5/PS4. I'm thinking that's what that is. Maybe Horizon Zero Dawn 2, but not at E3. Not at E3. And I think you're right. It's way easier to just use your influencers or whatever it is. I don't think that's a weak hand by Sony yet. I think they might have a weak hand, though. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm not sure. They don't want to talk about teraflops. I'm almost positive about that. That's some shit that Microsoft came up with. We got to have the most teraflops ever.
It's become a thing also. It just seems like at this point they're both PCs, and as far as exclusives go, or even just look at what we got and look what we can do, it's really just come down to almost personal preference. There'll be a few exclusives like Last of Us 2. I don't know if that's going to be an exclusive. I imagine it is because the last one was. But I mean, it's almost come down to do you like this controller better than you like the other people's controller? Do you like their interface with their operating system? I mean, it's almost got to that point as far as games go. Unlike, like on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, you might have two games that have the same name and they could be totally different when you play them. Like Batman Returns on Super Nintendo was a lot different on Sega Genesis. So it's like, I think by now it's just got to the point of like, oh, you like this console and this controller? Go with this. Or if you like their online service, go with this. Like if you like Xbox Live over PlayStation Plus or whatever your preferences are.
I could see Game Pass on PlayStation. I could see it. Sony would never allow that. I think Microsoft would allow their games to be at least streamed on PlayStation. We'll have to see. But, basically what I'm thinking between the both of them, and this will tie into my next little topic, is your PS4 and your PS5, it's going to be almost a seamless transition. And so you put in Last of Us 2, it'll be a PS4 disc, put it on the PS5, and you'll just have the PS5 version, and it'll just be, more frames, more effects, and day one patch, maybe 20 gigs or whatever, but it'll just work. And but Microsoft has also announced that they're going to have no actual exclusives on the Series X for like the first year or two, is what they were saying. So what's your take on that?
That's a long time. The first year or two. Have we reached the point where do we need these consoles out? I mean, when did the Xbox One come out? Was it 13?
2013.
So, I mean, yeah, that was 8 years ago, and that is a long time for a console, but we've reached the point of diminishing returns as far as graphics go. I mean, they can only go up so far. I mean, when that Series X comes out, it'll be 8K, and 8K TVs will probably still be $2,000. I mean, you're not going to have one in every home. Like 4K is just like, I would say probably in the last couple of years, 4K has become kind of the standard now. So it just seems like they're just, I don't know, it just seems like the consoles are coming out faster and faster, and they're barely upgrades over the previous one.
It's a power war.
Yeah, obviously. It's like, oh, it's got to be the fastest. It's going to be the best. It's going to be, at the same time, it's kind of like, it's kind of like cars, and I get everybody wants to make the fastest car, but in reality, it's like, a Veyron. It's super fast. It can, it's got 1,000 horsepower. That's great if you're, going on like, the Nürburgring track or somewhere in, one of those highways that has no speed limit. But I mean, for the average, you're not going to want to drive that thing around town. I mean, it's just, it'd be ridiculous.
But your car's got to be better than the other guy's car, right?
Obviously, it's basically come down to a big dick waving contest of like, my dick is bigger. And it's like, it's like they're just adding sections in to make it a little bit bigger every time. Like, they're pumping it with another pill. But I mean, the no series for like the first year or two, you think there would be a Halo somewhere in there. And I'm assuming when they say
it's going to be Halo Infinite on day one, Xbox One, Series X. Both of them. It's a Nintendo move.
It kind of is.
Nintendo's done
it's like
that
we're
with
going to sit on this. Yeah, they did that with Zelda. They did it the past two Zeldas, if memory serves. Or did they?
Well, there was that Skyward Sword. We don't want to talk about that one, okay?
But they did the same thing with the Twilight Princess, and then they did it again with Breath of the Wild, which was kind of what was like annoyed me about when they came out with the Switch. It's like they kept saying, it's like, oh, I'll get this. I had a Wii U, and I actually still do, somewhere floating around. And I was like, oh, man, I could, have this Wii U, and when they come out with that, I'll get it. And then it's like when it finally came out, it was also on the Switch, and clearly it's going to be probably they were like, we're going to aim this toward the Switch. That's where all the bells and whistles are going to go, even if they are very similar. And it's like you kind of get that point of like, why did I hold on to this crappy console for so long, just for this, in hopes that game would come out a year prior.
They pushed that. I'm sure that game was already ready. And I think the Twilight Princess was the same way. I think that, well, maybe not for that one, but Breath of the Wild was, and they just held it for a year. to make sure it's launched on the Switch. And maybe you could say the same about that Halo game Infinite. They haven't showed anything. So when they do E3, you need about 20 minutes of Halo to see what the hell that is. What is it? Open world? We don't even know. We just seen a bunch of rhinoceroses and shit.
Yeah, it seems like it's not like this. You get the impression this ain't gonna be the typical Halo first-person shooter, like like the past. Like maybe they're gonna do something a little different, but I mean, who knows? Now, when they say exclusive, it's like, I guess at this point, like exclusive for Xbox and PC is pretty much the same thing. Like since they're both Microsoft products.
Well, when it's being kind of arranged by the media to make it more worse than it is. They're talking about an exclusive to Series X that's only on Series X. But even then, if you're really thinking about that, they have announced a long time ago that wasn't going to be the case because everything was going to be on PC too. And so this isn't even much of a big deal. It's being pushed as a big deal. But if you pay attention to what they've been setting it up, because they've been setting it up, and so, Phil Spencer will give his little blurbs here and there, and you're like, what the fuck's he talking about on some of this shit? But then it will actually come to pass. So he's done everything they've said they've done so far. And it's like, you can play Halo Infinite on your 2013 Xbox. It's going to make more sales and probably more Game Pass, subs that way anyway. Instead of having to, you have a new console that might have 5 million units when you might could sell 10 million of Halo Infinite to everybody else. It's a smart move. It's what it is. And that might help because, every time a PlayStation comes out, there's nothing for it really. It takes a minute for it to get something really good. And if you have your Mario 64 or whatever it is, then great. Then you have something awesome to play. But a lot of times these consoles don't come out with too much. That's one of the reasons why Call of Duty 2 was so hot, and which made Call of Duty what it was there wasn't much for 360 such Call of Duty 2. And so to have exclusives that you're ready to play day one, even if they're available on the little bitty unit, I mean, I think it's a good idea. And it's it helps for people who aren't ready yet. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's smart also because it makes it where, like for me, I've still got like my 2013 or 2014, whenever I bought my Xbox One. I've still got my original. And if I get Halo Infinite, I'm not going to get a whole new Xbox just to play it. I will play it. But also it's nice to know, well, if I buy this when it comes out, whenever I want to upgrade, then it'll go right into like, the newer one I end up buying. Same with the backwards compatibility. It just seems like it'll be a straightforward shot, and it'll be like, oh, I'm not buying this and it being a waste of money because I'll have to get a new console and a new version and something totally different a year from now.
And because your saves are in the cloud, you can use the same controller. Hell, you don't even need a disc or a digital, download code because you just have Game Pass. All of this shit's ready to go. You'll have to get your new console and install the damn thing, or maybe even stream it from your xCloud until you can install it. I'm seeing where they're going. It's a pretty good idea. Very flexible, and people's like, you can't make no money that way. You can't sit on Xboxes. They ain't even. They're not. They want to sell.
I don't think they care.
They want.
I don't think
subs.
that's the game plan at this point. I think the game plan has totally changed as opposed to what it was 15, 20 years ago. I mean, they basically become computers at this point, and not everybody has a gaming computer. Not everybody wants to go buy a $300 or $400 video card. But hey, you can go buy this at this point, what is an Xbox One S like? 100.
Dude, if you're paying
$200.
I think you would get the used one freak on eBay for like $150 probably.
Exactly. I mean, I think you can get I remember during in fact it was not this Christmas, but the previous year we got our daughter one, and it was like $199, and it was like a Black Friday whole week sale at like GameStop. It was like $200. Came with some game. I don't even remember what game it came, but it was like $200. So it gives people it gives them like a staggered price point that they want to get in at, which I think is a great idea. It's like, oh, you don't have to buy this new $500 console. You could buy this $200 console and you can still play. It won't look as pretty, might not get 60 frames, but you can still enjoy it for what it is and not feel like you know.
You're excluded, or you're out of the game, basically. um, so there was one more tidbit. I was watching a YouTuber named Rich Review Tech USA. It's this fat guy named Rich on there. He's been around for a long time, and he was talking about some tweet that Mike Matei made, and that really got my attention when he brought that up. So I have the tweet right here. I want to read it out. It says Mike Matei is like he's the Angry Video Game Nerd's like secondhand man. He's one of his editors, and he plays a lot of older retro games. And then Angry Video Game Nerd's been around a long time, and they've kind of more or less, whether they wanted to or not, have been authority on hard ass games. And so this is what he said: retreat if you agree. If you use the rewind feature that's now standard on many NES or Super NES games available on the Switch, you did not, by any stretch of the imagination, beat the goddamn game. He must be on the podcast too. But and one of the things that Rare Replay is the same way. It has a rewind feature in it, and I've not played too many games personally like that. But I know that Duke Nukem, when it came out for Xbox, the Duke Nukem 3D, you could rewind that whole game. So it got a fair bit of conversation. It didn't get ratioed or whatever the hell there is to talk about on Twitter, but a lot of people were calling him out, saying it was a bad call or that he was gatekeeping. Before I get in my elaborate discussion, man, what do you think about this?
I was interested to know what you thought about it, because of all our circle of people, of group, you've always been the one that will sit down and beat the game that is basically like back in the day. Oh, this Transformers game is impossible. You can't. I don't think there's a second level because you can't even get off the first level. And it's like, and you're the one that's going to sit there and get through the entire game. So I was curious, but at the same time, I see where he's coming from. Like, I beat Mega Man as a kid with the Game Genie. And anytime somebody would ask me like, oh, did you ever beat Mega Man? I'd be like, yeah, I beat it with the Game Genie. But, like, because I'd use like the infinite lives. So that way, after so many continues, I didn't have to start all over. So it's like, it's kind of like you get an asterisk by it. And I understand where he's coming from. But times have changed so much that there's certain things in games that didn't always be there. Like the rewind feature wasn't always there. I mean, quick saves go back to like Half-Life. Half-Life had quick saves. And it just kind of felt like part of the game that you would have a quick save. Because I mean, you could really get slaughtered in Half-Life really quick if you just slipped up in a certain area trying to get through something. And this is kind of like, I mean, times have evolved to where it's like saves are faster now. You can quick load up quicker, or I guess it depends on what console. But is this part of an evolution of like, you can't expect kids to play the same games you played as a kid because technology is different, or the availability is different per se. It's kind of like saying, oh man, we used to love running down the street with that freaking like wooden wheel with a stick, just beating the shit out of it. That's what we used to do. It's like, I don't understand these kids now with their jacks and their bouncy balls, man. They just need a freaking wooden wheel and a stick. So I can see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I can see that it is hard. I mean, there's certain games, but a rewind feature back in the day, I would have beat way more games back in the day if I had a rewind feature. Because, and this is me, I get very annoyed if I have to go back and do the same things over and over again. So, for instance, Back to the Future, I had this game as a kid. It sucked. I hated it, but I love Back to the Future. I hated the music. I never got past the malt shop. I never got past that malt shop. And the reason was because you would go into that malt, you'd have to do like 4 or 5 stages of that street thing. You'd get your skateboard and your bowling pins and all that bullshit. And then you would get to that malt shop. And if you fucked up one time on that malt shop, it would not only send you didn't only have to do the malt shop over again, you had to go back and do the previous like level thing again. And I would just be like, fuck this, I'm not bothering. And I would just stop. You know what I mean? So it's like if I had a quick save or a rewind feature, I probably would have forced myself to go all the way through that game. So, but I didn't have the patience to do it as a kid, even though I had like, I didn't get games very often. But I was like, I'm not going back through that crap. It was always like a crapshoot. I would play it until I lost at the malt shop, and then I would just stop playing it. By
Yeah.
then, I'd had enough.
Uh, it's kind of this weird situation where it's like, okay, they didn't intend for a rewind feature to be in there, but then they've now released the game again. I mean, technically, it's emulated, but it has a rewind in it, and now they put the rewind feature in there. So to say whether it's intended or not becomes this weird thing. It's like, okay, so it wasn't intended in '86, but now in 2016 or whatever, Switch comes out, rewind feature. It's intended, and it's kind of a this weird situation. And then you might think about, well, there's things like turbo controllers, or the game itself might have cheat codes built in, or the game might tell you the cheat codes in the manual to say, oh, I think Adventure Island works like this. It's like they say, well, we would like you to play the game just using the 3 men and have to go all the way back. That's the way we want you to, but we've included this little honeybee or whatever it is that you could use. And then, is that cheating? It's like they give you the code. Is that cheating? And then, as far as computer saves, or like you talking about Half-Life, they've been computer saves, just quick saves, F5 or F7 or whatever it is, for a very long time.
I think it was Doom even. I mean, you could save.
Yeah, you could save anytime you wanted in Wolfenstein, even back to Wolfenstein 3D. You could just save right before the boss. Now, if you died, they didn't give you your guns and stuff. I don't know if you remember that, right? If you died on the next level, had you not saved, you would start that level over at level 2, but you wouldn't have your shit. But if you did save, you'd have everything. And so, well, they obviously intended you to use that save. And then, like, only if you wanted to play, like a hard ass or whatever, then you might start with a pistol. But if anybody's played much Doom or games like Doom 2, when you start putting the difficulty up, that pistol start becomes very damn rough. You have to be a pro player to just say, fuck it, I'm just going to pistol start the whole game if I die. So there's a lot of little caveats there. And let me back out of my little YouTube play. When I do a game or something like that, or a hard game, I actually have a rule set, and I have it written down. And so I'm bringing it up right here. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
So this is what, for me, what I consider is my rule set for beating the game. And so I've sitting there, what was I saying? Add-ons or expansions are allowed to be separate entire games if they're long enough to be an entire game. Like the Iceborne expansion from Monster Hunter, I have to play it, but I bet you that I would consider that its own game. And like any World of Warcraft expansion, there's no, I say right here, but I'm not very clear about it. It says no cheats. And it says no cheat passwords unless rewarded by the game. So like that would include, the Adventure Island one, Turok on N64. If you got like 9 men plus 99 coins or whatever. Do you remember the little coins you pick up in Turok?
Yeah.
If you maxed out the coins and you had 9 men, they would give you a password for infinite lives. They rewarded you for playing. Me personally, I don't consider playing it on easy, or the default's the key. Whatever they consider the default. If the game considers easy to be the default, then to me that's okay to beat it. But if they want you to play normal, then you play normal. I say turbo controllers are allowed. Glitches or exploits are allowed because it's difficult to determine what's a glitch and what's an exploit. One of the things, I don't know if they intended it, the Ninja Gaiden on NES, you remember the spinny thing that jumps around and you could kill monsters as a power-up?
Yeah.
You're always like jumping in the air and you're attacking, and you'll be forced to spin. If you press down and sword slash, you do not use the spinny thing. But on top of that, you could use that same thing. They probably put that in there for you to not use the slash if you didn't want to use the slash. But you can just press down and attack over and over again. You can attack like 4 or 5 times immediately in the air. It's an exploit of some sort. It's in there. In advanced Ninja Gaiden players would definitely use it. But So that's, in my opinion, glitches, exploits, it's all good. Things like a Blaster Master pausing between the boss fights where you drop grenades and kill them that way. That's all good to me. And then any kind of passwords are rewarded by the game. If the game allows infinite men, it's okay, like quarter eater type games. But I'm sitting there and look, I've got 7 or 8 rules to determine to me, because I want to try to beat the game as best as I can, whatever kind of exploit or glitch I can. And so I have to set this elaborate rule set up for me personally of what's considered to beat the game. And now that's like, you must say that's really ridiculous and hard ass, but that's what I had to do, especially when I was coming through and, first coming up with that list of the games I had beat. And I'm like deciding like, what should be on the list versus what I was cheating on back in the day. And for the vast majority of people, they don't really give a fuck. One way or the other, they cheat, it's okay. They're going to consider it beating the game. I think that's why he got a lot of flack. He got a lot of flack from people who are just on Twitter just to talk bullshit and be political. He got a lot of okay boomer memes. But if you're a retro player, beating Battletoads means something. That's like a trophy. It's like it's on up there, and it's only going to mean to a certain niche of people where beating Battletoads means something. And he didn't say that it's wrong to cheat. I mean, play it the way you want to play is what he said. I mean, he had to go back and re-verify because people were just all over his ass about this. But
oh yeah, I can imagine.
To really feel what it means to be Battletoads, it took me 20 hours. I have all the deaths and shit on YouTube. I wanted to record everything, but it's a huge feat. While if you gave me unlimited men, I would have that shit done in an hour and a half, like with no practice at all. And so you didn't get the struggle. You didn't get the misery, because it is miserable, man. The freaking Back to the Future is miserable. Battletoads is miserable. It's like, shoot, 20 hours of misery for like a couple hours of just, I would say it's like a high. It's literally a high to beat these games. You get high off of it, and you get enthusiastic, and you want to tell people, you want people to experience what you experience. But you know what? This is rough shit. This is fucking ridiculous shit. And no one should have to play Akari Warriors to get a buzz. Just go fucking do some hardcore trucks, man.
I mean, yeah. Well, that's like, I remember you when you beat Adventures of Bayou Billy. It's like, yeah, man, I beat that. That was rough. And it's like, good for you. But it's like, it's like, great. I mean, yeah, it sucks. I know it sucks. But at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't have had the patience. I mean, and it's like, and that's what it comes down to is like, just putting in the man hours of like, because some of these games, that's like Akari Warriors. I saw what you went through to beat Akari Warriors, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I didn't do that much work in high school. I mean, I don't even think I did that much work in college as far as like the diagrams. Like, this guy's going to pop up right here. I got it written down in this poster board, and I'm just like, are you on something? I mean, because it's like I started wondering, like, is he like on meth? Because he's like so obsessed with like how this is going to work, But then I was like, no, he's just on the games,
Yeah, it was almost. I know you've got relatives that have Asperger's, but it was almost like I had Asperger's. Like I was so fixated on it. It was the high. It was literally the high, and you feel like you're top of the world when you beat something like Silver Surfer. Especially, it means more if other people say it's super hard, and then you beat it. Because I know for a fact that Silver Surfer is not that hard of a game. Just leveling up the games I beat, Silver Surfer's not hard, but it's so like prestigious. I would say. And the reason I have a list of them like that, it's literally like a resume. It's like a trophy list for me. And I know that the vast majority of people don't care. I know that Mike Matei gets it. He gets it. And some of the people who play Dark Souls gets it. Now, there's a huge amount of elitism that goes with it, because it's like, oh, if you didn't play Dark Souls, you're not a true gamer. That's not the case at all, really. That's just people really talking shit at the end of the day. But I understand that the newer generation, they shouldn't have to do this. First of all, to their peers, in terms of the gatekeeping thing, because he got accused of being a gatekeeper. To their peers, they're not really going to give a fuck about this game anyway. Only like hard ass dickheads give about this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's like a lot of them will be like, "Oh, I've heard of Battletoads," and maybe a couple have played it, but not to the point of like times were different back then. I mean, it's like I only got like about maybe 2 games a year. Like I might get one for my birthday, one for Christmas. Half the time it wasn't even what I was really asking for. I didn't figure that out until later to make sure I asked for one thing and not just like a list of things.
You get the shittiest, cheapest things on that list.
Oh yeah, I mean, I here's what I used to do is like at Christmas they would have the wish book or whatever. That would come to the house, and I would go through there and like highlight stuff. And my mom would be like, "Yeah, highlight me a Christmas list." And I would go through there and there'd be like the Nintendo and the Sega Master System section, and I would just start like highlighting a couple of games, not realizing that like Santa ain't freaky go to even find half these games, and if he does, he's going to get whatever one's cheapest. And it's like I found that out one year because one year I was like, oh man, I really wanted Batman. That was the game I really wanted, but I just marked down a bunch of games that I wanted, and Batman was on that list. What did I end up getting? I got Mickey Mouse Capade.
It's still a good game, but it's nowhere near Batman.
It's not what you want when you're like 10 or 11 years old, and you're like, you're going to get like, I'm probably going to get one Nintendo game this Christmas, So you get that, and I hated that game. I didn't actually appreciate it until I was much older. I think I started appreciating it in high school when we would play emulators, and I'm like, this isn't a bad game. But it wasn't Batman. The next year, that was the only thing I asked for was Batman. I didn't ask for nothing else but Batman for Nintendo, and that's what I got. And it's like I figured that part out. But like with Back to the Future, it's like, yeah, that was a god awful game, and I would play it, and I never got past the malt shop. But at the same time, it's like I didn't have anything else to play. There were no difficulty settings like games these days. I mean, there was some games back then had difficulty settings, but almost every game now has one, and it's not just a setting. It's like there might be 4 or 5 settings. That's like I've been playing Fallen Order. It's got, I think there's like 3 or 4 or 5 difficulty settings, and I have found myself playing it on the easiest one. And part of me felt like, why am I playing this on the easiest one? And then I realized it's because I've gotten old and I don't have the time to sit down and play. I'm good for about an hour. After about an hour, I'm kind of done. Yeah. And that game has a lot of going back and forth over places, which will just drive me nuts, which I do like because I love Metroidvania games. But I don't like doing a lot of stuff, getting killed by some little freaking bullfrog, and then have to go all the way back, something crazy like that. Whereas I have been through professional mode of Resident Evil 4. I did professional Resident Evil 5. I don't know if me and you ever did 6 all the way through on professional. I think we started it.
We did. I don't know if it was with you. I've definitely beat it. There was they added a no mercy mode later. But I had beaten, I think it was veteran or whatever that was before No Mercy. I didn't beat the one they added like via DLC.
So later on.
It might have been with you. I don't know.
I know we did 5 because we spent that you remember it was like an hour and a half one night doing that one cut scene with freaking Wesker and Jill. Yeah. It was just over and over and over again. And it was like, and now I look at that and I'm like, there's no way I could do that. But back then it was fun. Times were different. Kids were younger. I think both of mine were like teeny tiny at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hard to explain to your 15-year-old daughter, Daddy's got to go play games now. It's like, don't you have something else you can go do?
Got to go, got a podcast now. It's got to go talk shit for an hour.
She just thinks it's funny. She's like, yeah, you just talk shit all the time anyway. But, yeah, I digress. I forgot what I was even going into as far as times changing.
Okay. But no, it's like, you shouldn't. Well, if you yourself feel bad about playing Fallen Order on easy, then my advice would be to do something about it. I remember somewhere that's Eddie trying to freaking talk about he wants to play with us. He's going to have to wait for a second, but I remember damn it, I lost my train of thought. But it's on that group of retweets from Mike Matei. There's a guy on there named Justin Davis. He's from IGN. He's a feature editor. And I remember him. He was on GameScoop, which is a podcast as well. And I remember him doing an article and then later talking 20 minutes or whatever about how he had a 2-year-old kid and he just could not justify playing through games anymore. Not even much less easy mode, just not playing through them in general. Yeah, and I could understand that, but at the same time, when he was saying it, it sounded to me like he's trying to justify to his younger self that, you know, this used to be important to him.
This used to be fun.
Yeah, it's and then you have to sit back and say, well, okay, I don't have time for this. These games are generally shorter than the major games out these days, would be my counter to that. But at the same time, you have to have a patience that you might not have lost. You should probably have this kind of patience if you have kids. I mean, you need to be patient with your kids, but to just be willing to die over and over again on a game like Battletoads until you figure out little patterns like I got this guy stuck in, it's nuts. And I didn't particularly enjoy playing Battletoads or Ikari Warriors. It was more about I was dead set on getting far, and it was like a project. A project is the way I would say. And you know, at the end, I could look back and say I had fun, and I produced a video or whatever. But it wouldn't even make the video. It was a chest to myself about what I could do, and that's a personal thing. And I can understand when people say they don't care about it, or you know, who gives a fuck or whatever. The way I would describe it is like you know, I lift weights casually or whatever. I don't know what my numbers are, but I know for a lot of people their numbers matters, like what you can bench press or what you can deadlift. And you know, a guy who could deadlift 500 pounds, that's a badass motherfucker, dude. And you know, he's going to probably look like he could do 500 pounds, and people are going to appreciate that and respect that. But they're not really going to understand it unless they were the guy who could lift 200 pounds. They've tried to lift it and they couldn't, or the guy who, you know, he's lifted 600 pounds and he knows the journey. He knows the journey's there. It's like you can see that as accomplishment, but you don't really understand it until you're there. And I think that's why a lot of these people are just going after Mike when he didn't try to mean it as like a gatekeeping thing. But it is, and in some ways it is. It's like an elite little club. It doesn't mean it has to be. You know, there's like 10% elitism and 90% of like your personal deal. But you know, it's one of those things until you sit there and really do it, then you understand. And you know, Ninja Gaiden was my entry level drug. I just kept playing it, and I'm like, why am I playing this damn game? Play for about 20 minutes a day. And then I eventually got it and I beat it. And then I'm like, okay, what's the next one? And then what's the next one? It's like, well, what's harder than Battletoads? And once you go down like, well, what's harder than Battletoads? That's a very little niche group of bullshit crap. That's to lead you to your damn Solomon's Key, your Ikari Warriors. And I want to say there's this group called Nintendo Age. They have like a little forum thing you can visit that beat the games every year. They try to beat all 800 or whatever. And it's just it's not like a thing that needs to be like tight rules. It's just people say I beat it. And I believe the hardest games on Nintendo, I think it's Arkanoid. You know what I'm talking about, with the little palm thing that shoots you to do it with no hand controller. And then and I think it was called Championship Pool. It's some kind of pool game. And there was no way to actually beat it. So the way that people would say it, because you're looking, when you're doing these games, you're want to say, well, how do I beat this game? If I can't beat the game, I'm not going to go play it. That's really how I look at shit. But for that pool game, it was actually the high score. They started at the top of the screen. You know, when you start off, the high score was like super hard to get to. And it leads you to disaster areas. If you're trying to see what's the hardest shit you can play, it's cruel, boy. It's cruel. That's where I went too far, and I need to step back some and try to come up with my own like new challenges, like maybe do some hardcore runs, one-man runs or whatever. But dude, it's something that's real fun, and it's became a hobby of mine. I know my next big challenge I haven't done in a while is going to be to try to do that Contra hardcore uprising game of one man. Dude, it's rough. I know somewhere I could do it, but right now I don't think I can. And I'd have to play it for days and days and days to do it. But but I'm willing to like not watch TV or not play the newest releases. When I set my mind, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I do. And it takes a mentality to get there, but I understand exactly where Mike's coming from. Maybe he shouldn't be, I don't know if he was meant to cause much trouble he caused, or then you have a lot of people saying you get the assholes to follow in to get good assholes from Dark Souls. It says, well, if you don't play Dark Souls and if you haven't gotten good, then you suck. But no, I perfectly understand playing Fallen Order. And what's interesting about that particular game is that's really is a Dark Souls type game.
Oh yeah,
they've given you
close.
Yeah, they've given you a chance to experience what Dark Souls actually wouldn't let you have. The way that the easy mode of Dark Souls is actually to call other people, and then when you call other people in, you also call griefers in to grief your ass. But I think I've got a video coming up fairly soon. I know I have it done about playing harder games like this, but a lot of it's like you got to you have to decide I'm going to play this ancient shit from a generation that no longer even can exist, and really to set that is the thing you're going to play. If you do that, you do have time, but we're playing Monster Hunter right now. It's like, would you stop to play Monster Hunter to go back to Back to the Future? Fuck no.
Oh hell no. And that's the thing. It's like and I've found myself in that same way. One of my goals is to sit down and beat Friday the 13th on NES. Because I rented it as a kid. And I'm like, this game is hard and god-awful. Like the map, I hate the map on it. It's like backwards. So every time you would think you start getting progress, you end up fucking something up. But I've always I'm going to go back and beat that one day. Because I think it's an interesting game. Because I'm a fan of Resident Evil. And if you think about it, it's almost like the prototype to those types of games. Maybe not the first survival horror type deal, but a game where you're going and collecting weapons and there's a Mr. X or whatever chasing you. It just happens to be Jason in this one. Yeah. But it's kind of got that kind of Resident Evil style to it. That you realize later on in life, you're like, oh, this was kind of this before, before that. You just back then it was like, oh, this is hard. Fuck it, I ain't bothering with it anymore. I just remember renting it and being like, I'll never ask for this for my birthday or anything. So it's like I've had it for years of like, I'm going to go back and beat that game one day, and I've yet to bother doing it. But it's like just a matter of wanting to do it. Yeah. But the thing I was talking about before I got sidetracked in my own head. But like you wouldn't have there wasn't as much variety back then either. So you if you got one or two games, you're going to play the shit out of them. Even if it was bad, it was like, if it was one you picked out, like Back to the Future I picked out, and it was like, fuck it, I'm going to play the crap out of it. And I still hated it, but, and I still didn't get that far in it. But I gave it way more time than I would have if, I had the options that people have now as far as like, oh, this game sucks. There'll be another one that comes out in 3 months. I'll get that one, or whatever. There's just a lot more out there, especially price wise. Even if you found most of the games, if you got them new back in the day, and then if you got one that wasn't new, it was because you traded with a buddy or you traded with a friend or a cousin or whatever. You didn't have a game store that's like, dude, you can go get 4 games for $20. They might not be the greatest and they might not be the newest, but $20 back when we were growing up, like I don't even think you'd get close to half a game. So you got just way more options now and way more difficulty. So, but at the end of the day, I guess I get where he's coming from, and I totally get it. It's like as far as it being like this is a pain in the butt, and I want people to realize that I did have a hard time beating this, and it has that type of whatever, the pomp and circumstance of like this is a pain, and I beat it, and it would be easier with the rewind feature. One thing is also, do you think that the lag input on these older games, let's say you're playing on like the NES Classic, it is very good at lag. It doesn't have a lot, but there is some still there. I don't even know if you could beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out on an NES Classic. I don't think it's possible.
Someone who does that is probably so good at the regular version of the game that they don't need the timing. Something Battletoads would be the same way. And so, like, if you was to play Battletoads on the rare replay, even though the 360 only has a couple frames of lag, once you add in the TV and then whatever's on the controller being wireless, and whatever's in the emulation, because the emulation has all this stuff adds up on top of each other. I don't think Battletoads would probably be beatable. You would have to have that rewind feature, and I bet you the devs would probably realize that shit. It's like, why is this so ridiculous?
There's like in Battletoads, there are so many things that if you aren't just like 100% precise on, it ain't gonna happen. You're just not gonna beat it. And the same way with like
what's going on the screen right now,
Yeah, exactly. You're not getting through that with that. I mean, you throw in, let's just say you throw in 10 seconds of like 10, not even 10 seconds, 10 milliseconds of lag. You're not getting through that. I mean, just not.
Yeah.
Unless you're pretty much like know it by heart and you're not even moving, you're not even reacting what's on the screen. You're just reacting to muscle memory and rhythm. That's the only way you'd really get through that. So it's kind of like, does the rewind feature make up for the input lag of like, oh yeah, well, we have a rewind feature, but you try beating Mike Tyson's Punch Out with this input lag from back in the day. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, it kind of offsets it a little bit, maybe not a lot, but I just can't, because I can feel input lag just like you can on certain TVs. Like on Mario, every TV I've ever played Mario on, I can spot input lag because there's a level 4-1. I can run through that level without letting go. I can hold right and the B button and just jump when I need to all the way through that level. I can
speed run that hanging off the plants. Yeah,
I can speed run that level like nobody's business. And if for some reason, I don't know why it's that level, but I guess just doing it over and over again, for years as a kid. And I can tell when my jump is a like fraction of a millisecond off. Like if it's on a TV that's not exactly, like graded lag input or just anything for that matter.
And who's even going to know that except for certain people? The average player is not going to have any idea what the fuck that is.
No, they're not even going to notice. I mean, especially if you're playing like, say, Final Fantasy on Nintendo. You're not going to notice input lag because there's like even on Zelda, you wouldn't notice it that much. You would, and the only reason I think we notice it is because our muscle memory. I meet a lot of people. They're like, man, I used to be good at these games, but now when I play them, I'm horrible. And it's like, it's not that you're horrible. It's the fact you're rusty, but also there's input lag and you don't realize it. It's minuscule, but it throws your entire timing off. And that's what you put somebody on a CRT TV. Like I've been going through mine, changing some things out, but when I had a CRT TV hooked up, people would come over and they'd play it. And it's like, oh man, I feel like I'm way better at it here than I would be at home playing it. And I'm like, that's because you're playing on like a 40-something inch LED TV. It's got to process all that. You got an upscaler that's processing. I mean, it's a mess. It just doesn't have, and if you're going off a muscle memory that we have as kids, that like something's off. But like, kids these days still play it and they're like, it's kind of like they adapt to what they've been playing. And it's like, it's different. But as far as like, it's kind of like, it's like the Game Genie. It's like, you could beat stuff with the Game Genie. And I would always, like I said before, Mega Man, you always put that like asterisk by it when you would talk to it about friends, be like, well, yeah, I beat it with Game Genie. Because I would never come out and be like, oh yeah, I beat the crap out of that. That wasn't me. Trust me, we knew kids in school that was the opposite for. It's like me and you both. Every person that ever told us, everybody I'd ever met that I played GoldenEye with said they were the best person, that they were unbeatable at GoldenEye until they played me. And it's like, you think I could beat Steven? It's like, if you can't beat me, trust me, you'll never beat Steven.
And there are people who whoop my ass and GoldenEye. I just ain't never played them. I know they're there.
Exactly.
I know
it's like playing Street Fighter when you think like, oh, it's like, I've played Street Fighter with you for years, and it'd be like, if I went to an arcade, I would be great against pretty much anybody that came in there, until there'd be one person that would come in there and you'd play them, and it'd be like, they just played me like I was a 2-year-old. Like, it was like everything I did was useless against them. And it's like, it's just that whole other step, that whole next level that you're not really aware of until you meet somebody like that, and then you're like, oh, they're on a whole nother level than what I'm on.
But hey, now YouTube, you see that shit all the time, and so and I think a lot of people see this stuff on YouTube, or they see their dad talks a shit about it, or it's talked over and over again. Well, everybody, even the casual gamer, will hear about Battletoads being retarded, and so they're going to try to go back and play it. And I understand Mike's view more, but I get elements of it that that you went to try to play these games. You've heard much about them, and they're like cruel misery bastards. It's just fucking, and they're like, why the hell did you guys do that? Because we didn't have anything else.
Yeah, we didn't have an option. That's like Defenders of Diatron City. You remember when you first started doing this? I was like, I will send you my copy of Defenders of Diatron City. I just want to see somebody beat it. And I think there'd been like time attack videos online or whatever, but I just wanted to share the misery with you that game brought me, because that was a perfect example of, if I had a rewind feature, I probably would have beat that as a kid. But I would get to the mall, all my characters would be about dead, and and I'd be like, I ain't going back through that shit. The game's god awful. You had to play it with the sound turned off, otherwise it'd drive you mad. The music was so bad, and I loved, like, because you're like, oh dude, that game was easy, but my god, was it bad? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I knew it wasn't going to be as hard as like some of the games you played, but I was like, this is it's like hard on a different level. It's not hard to beat. It's just hard to play because it's that bad. It was an unintentional, degree a difficulty setting on that game. It was just, Jesus Christ, it was horrible.
I don't remember how many hits I got. I think I had only I probably at the time only had the only complete playthrough of that game. I don't know what's on there now, but yeah, thanks for that shit, asshole.
That was one of those. I picked that out at Toys R Us. It was one birthday. I think I was 13. And I went to Toys R Us, the one that you probably went to as a kid too. And I remember my dad was like, I'd found that was when I got, it was either Mega Man 1 or 2, one of the Mega Mans I got. And it was like on sale. And by sale, I mean, it was less than $30, because, most of the time they were like $60, $50, $60. Which back in the 80s was like, or whatever, the early 90s, that was a lot, and that's why you would only get 1 or 2 a year. And I remember he was like, he went in there with the understanding of like, well, we're going to spend about $50. And it was like, it's on sale for like $25 or whatever. I think it was Mega Man 2. And he's like, well, is there any other ones you want? And I found that one, and it was on sale. And like together, they were like $50 or whatever. And I thought it looked cool. And I remember like, oh man, this looks awesome. And of course, I didn't play it near as much as I played the Mega Man game.
No.
It was like I would play. Because I remember like first off, they actually worked in my Nintendo because they were clean, and they worked like pretty much every time I put it in, as opposed to my older games and just not knowing about cleaning the contacts as good that we know now.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, damn, my Nintendo must not be too bad. I just always thought my Nintendo sucked, which it did, because it needed a new 72 pin. We just didn't know what the hell that was. But I remember like taking it out of the box and being like, oh man, it loaded up on the first try. This is awesome. And it's like other games, you spend 5 minutes playing with it. But I would play Mega Man, and I'd keep playing it. And I'd finally get, I'm going to try this other game. And I'd play it for like 10, 15 minutes and be like, okay, back to Mega Man. And then I'd come back to it. It was just like, that game just sucked. But I would play the crap out of it because, like I said, this is what you got, Same with renting games. You remember, like, you ever rent a game and you would just play the crap out of it, knowing that you would never really want to own it, but because you rented it and you had 2 days, you were gonna get your 2 days worth.
And I think that's why we come back to them. And, people like Mike did not beat those games. He didn't get and start beating those games until recently, kind of like what I did. I think I actually were beating them before he was. But these are games that whooped their ass as a kid. I remember, getting Ninja Gaiden 2 and thinking it was going to be great, and you can't get past the second level. And then And so you get a little bit of revenge later on, especially if there's nothing new that I wanted to play. I'm like, well, I'll just play this old shit and whoop its ass because fuck you, Ninja Goddamn.
Exactly. It's like you put that feather in your cap. And that was the thing about emulators. When we started, like, you turned me on to emulators, like, what was it, like, 9th, 10th grade? It was like,
96, I believe.
It was like wasn't like Nesticle was out, and it was like, but there were so many games. I didn't realize there was a Ghostbusters game until I started playing emulators. I mean, because I don't remember ever seeing that game like in a store to buy or a rental cabinet or anything. I mean, rental stores back when we were growing up, like there wasn't a whole lot of options. It wasn't even a matter of like, is it in stock? It's just a matter of like, they might have 5 games total, period. I think you guys, did y'all have like that Turtles that was down there in Whitesburg, I think?
Green Video.
That's what it was. I don't know how big their selection was, but I remember my mom would always go to Warehouse Groceries, and they had a rental section. I think they had like 7 or 8 Nintendo games. If every one of them was in stock, that's how many they had. So you're really limited. I remember they had like Darkwing Duck, and they had Spider-Man Sinister Six. It's like over the course of like a year, I'd rented every game they had. And that was pretty much like, but same way with Ghostbusters. I never even knew that game existed. I definitely never realized there was a Transformers in Japan until we were like going through ROM lists and be like, Transformers, that's awesome. And and you die as soon as you load the game up, you die. And it's like, this is bullshit. And I remember telling you, like I said, I was like, I don't even think there's a second level. This is probably just this. It's impossible. They're like, why make a second level? Nobody will get to it. They just did a cost cutting measure. And of course, you're like, I could beat it. And then you did. And it's like, not only is there a second level, there's a whole bunch of damn levels. And it's
they're
like,
all shit.
That's when you realize, like, my friend is a masochist. I mean, but also it's like, you can say like, I beat that,
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. It's like people would be like people would be like, oh yeah, I knew this one guy growing up. He could beat like, Silver Surfer, all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I got a buddy that can do that. Andy has it on video proof. So it's kind of like, not only did you beat it, you can be like, point to a YouTube video and be like, yeah, I beat it here.
That's why I made this channel.
Exactly. It's like, I thought it was awesome when you started recording them and putting them up, because I remember I would tell people, it was like, oh yeah, I got a buddy, he loves hard games. And it's like, and then once you started having that YouTube channel, I was like, check this out, this is him beating like, Silver Surfer. And they're like, people beat that game? Like, some people would be like, you could beat that? They thought it was like Tetris, it just never ended. But I mean, I think this day and age, no matter saying something like that, I don't think he intended it to be a problem. People take things way out of context. I thought he was just kind of being cheeky. I thought it was a hilarious comment of like, yeah, damn sure you did beat the damn game because it had to rewind. But it's like, it's like, I didn't think anything about it. I just, like I said, it was just something funny to be said. So the idea that everybody went, balls bananas over it was kind of funny in its own thing also, though.
It's a surprise to me, because if you sat down and really asked those people, hey man, is a rewind button, is that cheating? I'm sure most of them would say yeah, if you really asked them.
Well, that's like, if it's like you took Dark Souls and say they came out next week, they're like, we're going to release a patch, and the patch is if you hold down the left trigger and the right trigger at the same time, it's going to reverse everything that just happened by like 10 seconds. How many people would be like, well, that's bull fucking shit? You know what I mean? It's like, they would.
Oh, the fans would lose their shit.
Mind. They'd lose their fucking mind, And of course, the company could come out and be like, well, we're just trying to make the game more open and available to other players besides the hardcore audience. But at the same time, it's that divider. And then it's like, don't you tell me how to play my game that you invented and that I didn't program, but I've been enjoyed it for, the past 12 or 13 hours that I put into it. And it's kind of like coming back to Fallen Order. I was like, it felt weird being like, am I really going to put this on the easiest difficulty? Which the thing I like about that game is you can increase it or lower it at any time. So I started on the easiest, and I was like, oh, this is kind of easy. But then later on, it's like I was more or less playing it for the story. So I was like, I'll probably go back and replay it because I spent like $40-something on it. And if I'm going to spend $40-something on it, I feel like I should probably try to get 2 plays out of it. Not to be like, oh, it costs money, but you still have that thing. It's like it's like with emulators, emulating a game. It's like I would download that game and I would play it for 5 seconds, but I would never feel a need to go back and actually. Or I give you a perfect example: Xbox original OG. You remember you could burn those games.
Yeah.
It's like if you burned it and if it didn't remotely spark your interest, you're like, fuck it, I ain't never playing it again. Now, if you went out and spent money on it, you would be like, oh, I'm going to put some more effort into this just because I spent money on it. And that game, it has elements that I like. And I think if I went back and played it now that because I'm probably like halfway through it, I've about got the combat physics like down to understanding like what powers to go for first and which ones are a waste of time and things like that. I would probably enjoy going back and playing it on a harder difficulty.
Yeah.
And it's got that same style. It is very Metroidvania-esque. Like you can't do certain things until you get certain powers, and you can go back to playing it. It's kind of like KOTOR, and I like that part of it. But like at the same time, it's like I'm just playing for the story. I just want something I can relax to while I'm sitting down, like half asleep, and play it for about an hour, put it down, go on back to do something else.
And I definitely play games like that too. I don't want to. I call them a palate cleanser after you do something kind of rough or just generally long. Something short and easy, like a visual novel. I'll play a lot of visual novels like that, and then or just a little bitty indie game, like a little Metroidvania indie game. Because dear God, if you played Battletoads all day long.
Well, the game that I'm coming off of is an older game, but still not ancient retro. Is Revelations 1 for I've been playing the Nintendo Switch version. I've been going through raid mode. And raid mode, man, when you start getting up on those higher levels, that will drive you bananas. When you're just like right there at the end of a level and you're just trying to get through it without running out of ammo. And some
or
of
the one-hit monsters.
Yep, the one-hit monster, the chainsaw freaking glob thing that you're just like, Jesus, that's what I was coming off of. And I was like, I just don't want to play anything hard. I just want something I can lay on the couch and just kind of fumble through. And that was, like I said, that's, and I want to go back and finish that raid mode. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. There's some of that stuff, man. And then the Switch has got my buttons reversed. I've got like, the A and the B button are reversed. So like the accept button and the back button. It's like, it took me a minute when I went back to Xbox One to remember that my fingers were hitting the wrong keys sometimes.
Now, oh, you're playing on Switch. I forgot. Okay. But I think we're about ready to wrap this up, but I was thinking about maybe doing a podcast eventually about Doom. I need to look and see when that new Doom comes out. I think it's February. No, it might be early March. We'll have to take a look at it. Did you play Doom 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
I like it.
You played through pretty good. We might have something.
I don't think I ever finished it. I think it was one of those. That was a game that I really felt was a fun, like I could sit down at the end of work and just kind of play and just enjoy it because it had its moments of being difficult, but at the same time, like I guess you could amp up the difficulty, but it was like a real fun, just like action type. Sometimes you just need something like that. Just a run through, guns a-blazing, beating the crap out of everything. That to me, I like that Doom. That was a great Doom.
Yeah, we might do a podcast about that or something, other kind of current events. But I think that we talked about Mike Matei, and I think I ain't going to be decisive and say that, he's right, but, those games are gatekeeping, and they're only for old fuckers, pretty much. It's like,
exactly.
If you want to enter that world, it's definitely there. And I know there's a lot of the best speed runners are actually young. So a lot of people do go back and play these games. But to play them the way they're, air quotations, meant to be played, that's rough shit, and you need to be ready for it. So we'll see you guys next time.